So now let's start work on our messages page, which is inside our web pages where we have our messages page. Now to this page, this will receive one thing as a parameter, and that will be the toUser. ToUser simply means that the user to whom we are sending message, the current user, the logged in user is sending message. Let's receive it through constructor, so we can say required toUser data, and then in here in our messages page state we will define user model, and we will say toUser user model, and the other one is from user, that is the logged in user. Then let's implement the method. We will get the initial data for toUser and from user. So we can say get user data, so the data which we receive inside our messages page, which is toUser data, that we will assign to the toUser, and then we will first check if the current user is logged in. So you can say logged in user, the user who is already logged in. Okay, Firebase or .instance .current user. So we will check if the logged in user is not equals to null, it means the user is logged in, and then we have to get the current user data, that is from user. Okay, so we will assign it to our from user. So let's get the current user data from our user model. So the logged in user dot UID, the logged in user display name, if it exists then get that name, otherwise an empty string will be assigned to it. Then logged in user dot email, if it is email then get that, otherwise if the email is not exist then assign this empty string to it. For the password we do not need it, so we will pass this empty string. Then comes the last one, which is the profile image. So we can say image logged in user dot photo URL, otherwise assign empty string. Now we have to call this method whenever this messages page start loading. So that is whenever the user come here to this messages page, so we will call it inside the init state. Let's implement this. We want to make sure that the title must be at the center of the screen, so we can say center title true. And then in the row we will display the circle limiter, that is the user image, the radius, background color, and then background image, which is toUser.image. And after the image we will add some space, and then using the text widget we will display the toUser.name, that is the user name to whom we are sending the message. Now after the title, at the right side of this app bar we are going to display the icon. So for the right side of the app bar we use actions. So let's display this icon, which will be icons dot more word. Add this with these actions, and then in the body we will call our messages widget. Messages widget, and to this you have to pass two things. One is the from user data, which is from user, and then to user data, which is to user. Now we will of course test our application. Before doing that we have to go to our main.dart. If you remember, we are using the provider, okay, the provider state management. We have also created our chat provider. So when you implement a provider, for example, currently we have did it for the chats, that is the chat provider we have created, so we have to add it in here in the change notifier provider, otherwise you will get error. Okay, so for that purpose what we can do is inside this, first remove this, we can say change notifier provider create context, and our provider which we created by the name provider chat. You can say child my app. Now here go to the roots web pages, as we have implemented our messages app and it is not constant. You know, the constant we have removed from it because here we are receiving this data which will change for every user to whom we will send the message. So that's why you have to remove this const from it now, and we have to pass the arguments. Now, the arguments will be basically arguments as user model, and we have to change basically our on the messages page this constructor, that is messages page. Let's remove this. In the arguments we will send the this dot to user data, and then key colon super key. So basically what we are doing here is we basically pass the user model as arguments, and that user model is receiving here, which is to user data. So now let's just test our application to see how it looks. So the app is running now. Now currently we do not have recent chats, okay, so we can't click on anything here on the chats. However, we have only the contacts, so we will click on any contact with whom, let's say, you want to start chatting. So we have to add a click event on it, which we have not yet added. So our contact list, which is this one here, when the user tap future dot delayed, we will add some delay, that is wait for 0 second. Navigator dot push name context, and our root name you already know, which is slash messages. That is, we will send the user to the messages page, and we have to pass the arguments alongside with it, and the arguments is basically the user data which will be sent and it will be received here, as you can see. Okay, so these are the arguments. So from the contact list here we have to, that is, when the user click here on any contact, it will open up the chat box. Let's just test it so we can see it. So now let's go to the contacts. Let's click on John Jones, and here we go. Here you can see we have John Jones profile picture, John Jones, the icon button, then we have the chat area. Of course we have to move this chat area below here, that is, it must be here at the bottom. So you know that this is our messages widget, which is our design. So our widget, which is messages widget, currently you know that we have this container where we have our this whole text field design alongside with these icon button and this button. So what we need here, currently we have not yet displayed the messages, that's why you see this. Okay, when we start displaying the messages, that is, when we implement the stream builder here for displaying the messages, even if there are no messages yet in the database, then it will move automatically below here. Currently the upper area is empty, so for now, just for the testing purposes, for now we will add a spacer widget. But of course later in the upcoming videos, as we are moving step by step, later when we will start implementing the messages, that is, when we retrieve and start displaying the messages here, then we will remove this spacer. Okay, for now, just for the testing purposes, we add that spacer. So if I click John Jones, you can see this is the UI. It will look like this. Here we will have the messages which the user will send or receive from John Jones. As you know that currently Peter Parker is a logged in user, John Jones is the to user data. Okay, the to user, that is to whom we will send message or from whom we will receive message. Okay, and then we have Michael Clark, you can see that. So on any contact you click, it will open up that contact in the message box. You can see that. And this design you already know, this is on our messages widget which we implemented here.